the screen, the flyer.
Please go ahead whilst I do that.
Okay.
I'm using two screens, so it's a bit.
All right, so good
meeting.
good afternoon. I'm tempted to say ladies, but we also do have some gentlemen here, so we want to welcome you to today's event organized by SP Ghana in collaboration with Mozambique and Senegal. The theme is driving gender equality and equity through technology and innovation. I'm happy to see that we are not only ladies here, there are gentlemen also on board. That tells the ladies that everywhere the ladies go, the men will follow. And as a matter of fact, just to put on a caveat that due to the time difference between ourselves and that of US, our guest speaker, Ogogo Dixon, could not join us because it's still dawn back in Texas. So I believe she's either waking up or still sleeping. I don't know, I'm just guessing. And for that matter, we still have the guts and understand that we're going to have a wonderful short event today to encourage, to motivate, and make sure that our YPs, that's our young professionals and students who are joining this wonderful D&I event, or what we call the diversity and inclusion. We want to have everybody included. We want to have everybody diversified. And for those who've had a chance to understand how diversified some of us are, not in terms of malfunction, but in terms of career path, try to encourage you more or less to make sure that whatever thing you can learn, whatever addition you can add to yourself, you can. So the D&I group or the arm of the SPE is not only limited to the ladies. For me, that's the more reason why I'm very happy we have men here as well. So on behalf of SPE Ghana, I would want to introduce our moderator, who will now introduce our interim guest speaker, and then introduce the panelists for this afternoon discussion. She's no other person than our own D&I chair. So Shina Osu and son lives and works in Accra. Sometimes she goes offshore, I know. And she is an operations geologist with a multinational operating company, where she initially started as a well site geologist, working offshore on drilling rigs. So Shina's upstream career started 13 years ago in an oil field service company as a geoscientist and later in sales, working for different clients across Sub-Saharan Africa. She also worked briefly in the mining sector during her national service period. I believe that was for, 1 year. So like I said, she is currently the SPE D&I chair, but prior to that, she was the session secretary for many years. I remember when I came out to Ghana, she was the secretary till last 2 years when she took up the D&I chairmanship. She enjoys service and volunteering and mentoring young girls, which she does very well, and coordinating activities. She is a wife and a mother of 2 lovely boys, and an adorable 8 years old Martipo dog. I don't know why you don't have a cat, but you have a dog. So Sheena, please, the floor is yours. And please, all the best, and other listeners enjoy. And please, when it gets to the Q&A time, do well to indulge the panelists. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you. Before we go into the panel discussion for today, we would have someone do the guest speech for us. As Riverson already said, our original guest speaker couldn't make it due to time difference and some other stuff. So today we would have Mr. Samuel Ni Eje to do the guest speaking for us. He has over 21 years of experience spanning across banking and the oil and gas industry. So we don't want to waste too much time. And Sam, if you're on, kindly take on from here.
Thank you very much, Sheena. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are in the globe. And I deem it an honor to be chosen when we are celebrating International Women's Day. And so to all the women on the platform, let me use this singular honor to wish you a happy International Women's Day, all of you. And for me, I think that the theme for this year's celebration is very important, and I think that it just comes right with the time that we discuss gender equality and gender equity, and then technology as well. I would not bore you with too much words, but to also indicate that for me, gender equality refers to the rights, the opportunities, and the treatment of people regardless of their gender and their identity. For me as well, when individuals are treated equally, regardless of where they come from or who they are or how they identify, there is fairness. And I believe that that also promotes inclusion. And D&I, it's all about diversity and inclusion. It will reduce poverty. It will increase economic growth. It will promote social development. And I believe that it is a fundamental human right that is essential for creating a more just and equitable world. And so with these few words, I'd want to welcome all of us to the session on the D&I session by SB on International Women's Day. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Thank you very much, Sam, and we welcome you to today's program. We welcome everyone once again. And as Sam already said, today we are talking or having a discussion about the important topic of how to drive gender equality and equity through technology and innovation. So for today's panel discussion, I have 2 wonderful women to join Kani for the discussion. To join Sam for the discussion. I have a lady called Kani Jobe, and then I have Celestina Kissing. Kani is a dedicated and a strategic petroleum engineer and an award-winning energy executive with a passion for cleaner and renewable energy technologies, who has worked on energy projects in different continents over the past 15 years. She's a member of the SPE and then Association of Project Managers, and was recently recognized in the 2021 Power List of 50 Inspiring Pan-African Female Leaders by Lean In Africa and African Oil Week. She was part of 100 outstanding female executives in the oil and gas by African Shapers, and she was also a recipient of the SIPEC Pitan Winning with Women Award in 2022. Kani was born and raised in Gambia, and then she received the Maiden Trust Bank Gambia Millennium Excellence Award in the year 2000 for Best Academic Results Nationwide. She also received the Best Student Excellence Award in 2026, which was given by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also was the recipient of the Alumni of Australia Development Awards in 2021. In 2019, she received the Commonwealth Awards, coupled with numerous academic accolades throughout her time in school. This is one serious, very brilliant lady. Currently, she works as a director of exploration at the Gambia National Petroleum Corporation, where she advises government on oil and gas exploration projects, and is a member of the national team that structures, negotiates, and oversees the implementation of high-value exploration activities. Kani holds 2 advanced energy engineering degrees, one in oil and gas, and then another in materials and mineral resource engineering. And she is an accredited she has an accredited master's in international project management. She is a mother of 2 boys, and she's raising them to be gender champions. And of course, she's happily married for 13 good years. Kani, you're welcome to today's section.
Thank you so much, Sheena. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks to you and Dr. Riverson, Mr. Sam, and Ms. Celestina Kissy, and the entire SPE, Ghana, Mozambique, and Senegal chapters. My pleasure to be here.
Joining Kani is another wonderful lady, extremely intelligent as well. She's a chemical engineer and based here in Accra. She, with her family, when she's not at work, she spends time with her children doing fun things together. Celestina Kissy started her career as a graduate trainee with Ghana's oil refinery, the Tema Oil Refinery, for her national service. She then moved on to Shell Ghana as a graduate trainee, working on fuel scheduling on the downstream side of the industry. While there, she got the opportunity to work offshore as a chemist on a rotational basis, and she took it. Overall, she's had over 8 years of experience as an offshore chemist and a total of 14 years experience in the downstream and upstream industry. She's currently an offshore chemist with Champion X Ghana Limited. She joined the Society of Petroleum Engineers in 2011, and she was the Young Professional Chair from 2017 to 2018, before taking over as the Section Chair from 2019 to 2022. You're welcome, Celestina.
Thank you very much, Sheena. Happy to meet you all. Happy International Women's Day again.
Nice to have you all. And of course, we have Sam, who was our guest speaker, joining the panel as well. Sam, you're welcome once again.
Thanks, Sheena.
Okay.
Happy to be with you.
We're glad to have you too. Would like you all to turn on your videos at this point so we could see your lovely faces whilst you talk. Now, according to a UN Women's Gender Snapchat 2022 report, women's exclusion from the digital world has shaved off about $1 trillion from the gross domestic product of low and middle income countries in the last decade. A loss that will grow to about 1.5 trillion by 2025 without action. And this ties into what we are trying to discuss today about driving gender equality and equity through technology and innovation. But to start with, we need to understand what equity is, what equality is, and then we get into the conversation. So Celestina, I'll allow you to tell us what gender equality is and why this is important.
Right, thanks, Sheena. Just as you've just mentioned, according to the United Nations, gender equality is the equal rights, opportunities, and treatment of individuals regardless of their gender. This implies all genders may have equal access to resources such as education, healthcare, employment, and can participate fully in all aspects of society without discrimination or bias based on
Celestina, please turn on your video. We can hear you all right, but we can't see you. If you can, please turn on your video.
Very, very important.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yes, and for all of you, she's working offshore. So that is a sort of diversity and inclusion we're talking about, you know.
That's
where
right.
she's working, there's no a hindrance to her. So kudos. Please continue.
Yeah, so just as Sheena has mentioned, pardon me if there's some breaks in my transmission, because sometimes the network can go off. Right, so as I was saying, gender equality is very important to me for several reasons. Firstly, I believe it's a fundamental human right, and everyone should be able to live and work in an environment where they are fairly treated, regardless of what gender they are. And that's the benefit I'm enjoying where I am at the moment. In addition, gender equality actually promotes social and economic development. When women and girls have access to education, healthcare, economic opportunities, they can contribute more fully in their communities and their countries' economies. So when we empower ladies, women, this can lead to reduced poverty and improved standards of living because women have direct access to children and people who may benefit from the resources, the economic benefits that they have. Thirdly, gender equality will also promote peace and security. When women's rights are respected and protected, societies are more stable and peaceful. So overall, gender equality is very crucial for creating a fair and just society, promoting economic and social development, and ensuring peace and security. It's a goal that requires the participation and commitment of individuals, communities, governments, all around the world. And this is really something that we should all advocate for. Thanks, Sheena.
Thank you, Sel. Thank you. And it's for us, like you rightly said, gender equality is important, and it's important especially for us all to be treated fairly, no matter our gender. And sorry, can we all be muted? Okay. So on the backdrop of gender equality, we still get to talk about equity, because then we realize that even though we all want equal opportunities as genders, there's still the need to make such opportunities unique to the individuals. So in comes gender equity. Kani, can you tell us what this is and why gender equity is also important when we are talking about gender equality?
Thank you so much. Is my video on? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't Yeah, thanks, Madam Celestina as well. Happy International Women's Day to you. I love seeing you in your overalls, giving me memories of, of the time I used to wear them as well. So it's beautiful that you could make this time. So you gave a very good overview of gender equality and why it's important that we're trying to establish fairness. We're trying to ensure that there are no legal restrictions, basically. There are no policies and laws that stop women from having access to the same facilities and education, for example, that men have and opportunities. However, when we talk about equity, we are looking at it beyond fairness. We are looking at the respective needs of the people who these laws and policies are seeking to address. So equity takes into consideration the fact that historically there are barriers that are not just legal in nature, but they are also cultural in nature as well. No, sorry, someone just entered my office. I'm in a meeting. I'm sorry about that. Someone just decided to open my door without me saying come in.
Yeah,
I should
that's
have locked the door. So
Yeah.
so gender equity is looking at the fact that despite equality can create laws that make it possible for women to attend school. However, the discrimination still persists because culturally, there are still some barriers. So you might have some families that first would still not send their kids to school, or second, even when they send their kids to school, we have this experience in rural Gambia. They only allow them to go to school for a certain number of years. So let's say you finish basic education and that's it, because perhaps government has made it compulsory for girls to go to school. So it's not equitable. We have equal rights of access, but you would notice that access to primary and base or access to advanced education is still very limited because of these sociocultural barriers. So gender equity tries to address as per need what a gender or particular, what the female gender or a particular gender needs in order to match the gender that has been advantaged. So equality does not take into account the discrimination that has been happening over thousands of years, the social conditioning that has happened. And that's why some recent reports have showed that at least 46% of least developed countries have sort of managed to have parity, which is an almost comparable level of access to education for primary education for girls, but not at the university level or tertiary level. And there's, they're still having lower jobs, not the higher skill sets. And this is one of the reasons, for example, I think particularly pertinent to SPE, that we still have such a low number of women who are focusing on STEM careers. It's not because schooling is not available, it's because of some of these ingrained biases. So gender equity, having it as a consideration in policymaking, in decision making, and in organizational setups, ensures that you go out of your way to help recondition both conscious and unconscious biases that might stop the laws that are targeted for equality from working as they should. And so both of them are important because you need a dual-pronged approach in order to ensure that the impact is felt and is made in accordance to what the targets and the goals are.
Thank you very much, Kani. Tam, so as Celestina and Kani just said, talking about equality and how to be treated fairly and equity in terms of breaking the individual barriers that are in place. Do you think technology can help bridge this gap, that gender gap, when it comes to equality and equity? And if yes, what are some of the ways we can go about this? Samuel.
Yes, thank you, Sheena. I think that technology plays a big role and will continue to play a big role in helping to bridge the gap. And hence the reason why I mentioned earlier on that this year's theme is very opportune. The critical gap that technology plays starts from the creating new opportunities for all genders, for giving access to healthcare. Now, healthcare has moved from where we used to know it to be that mundane kind of a thing. Now, the rapidity of things, employment to many, and we can even start with education, the beginning point. And both Celestina and Kanye mentioned education, and technology can bridge the equity gap if we are first educated, and educating both sexes. I mean, particularly in Africa and maybe in Ghana, I talk about the remote areas where sometimes it's difficult to even get electricity. But then once we are able to carry across online learning, once we are able to carry across digital textbooks, once we are able to carry across the various forms of education, whether it's formal education, informal education, non-formal education, once we increase access to education, then now once technology can help us to break down education, the things that we are learning, where hitherto people learn things by rote, don't have examples for what they are learning, but now technology helps to break down, give examples, give you a global reach of what is being taught or what is supposed to be learned. Technology also comes in to give employment to many. I know people who live in Ghana and who work outside the country in various places. That is what technology does in bridging the gap. That is, technology gives an equal opportunity to sexes, to genders. Technology gives financial inclusion. Hitherto, I mean, you know that in certain parts of Africa, and let's narrow it down to Ghana, financial inclusion was not the thing. Finances belong to a particular set of people, a particular group of people. But what technology does is that breaks the barriers, opens up and brings financial inclusion to men, women, girls, boys. Now mobile technologies, digital tracking systems. I mean, we are at a time where financial inclusion, once you have a mobile phone, not to talk about a laptop or a system, once you have a mobile phone, you are hooked on. Technology brings safety and security. It helps to keep all of us safe. It helps to bring that part of the missing gap where no individual or no group of people are left behind. So to recap again what I have said, technology plays a crucial gap in gender equality, and technology playing that gap in education, technology playing that gap in availability of healthcare and how to process healthcare products and access, technology bridging the gap in employment, financial inclusion, and then safety and security. So these cannot be overemphasized. Thank you, Sheena.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. And then in terms of technology, when you go to tech, you find out that a lot of the people occupying the tech spaces and the digital spaces are more males than females. What are some of the things, Celestina, what are some of the things we can do to make sure we get more women and girls into the tech spaces, into the digital spaces in the first place? Because if they are not even there, we cannot even achieve the gender equality and equity we're talking about. So how can we get more women and girls into the tech spaces? Or even STEM in general?
Yes, I think women play a major role, and they are able to see things in a way that others are unable to. I'll piggyback on a few inventions that were made in the past. A lady invented a hand-powered washing machine. You know, she had been empowered. She had the STEM education, and she identified the need at that point, and she came up with that a hand-powered washing machine. She was called Jocelyn Cochrane. And that just tells you what women are capable of doing if they are empowered with the skill set required to be innovative. So by all means, we have
Sheena, do you think
to
maybe you could mute everyone else?
yeah.
Usually, sometimes the moderator can do that.
Yes, I've done that now.
Sorry, Celestina. I
Yeah.
couldn't hear what you were saying at some point here.
Right. Yeah, so I was saying women play a major role, especially in this time that we are having a carry-on call for women to be educated and given the STEM education to enable them to play a part. I cited the example of the person who invented the hand-powered washing machine. In our homes, ladies have been doing the washing for a long time, and if they don't have the baseline knowledge required to enable them to come up with new technologies to make work easy, we'll remain where we are. But just by educating a woman, she came up with that machine, and that is just one example. Other things, other examples can come up, other inventions have come up in recent times just because women were empowered with STEM education. So innovation helps with developing new technologies, and these will help to tackle gender specific needs. And just as some rightly said, providing access to financial services. Right here in my country, we have women as market women, and they may be going through all these traditional ways of accounting for their finances. But look at how things have improved when mobile apps have gone up. People can put their plans together, their budgets, they can create and follow through. They can even make forecasts based on data that has been collected. This is all knowledge that makes things move faster. And in a fast-paced world, we cannot, and I repeat, we cannot leave the women behind, else this progression we are all planning to make is not going to be successful. I trust I've been able to answer your question, Sheena.
Okay, yeah, you took it more from the innovative side, which is totally fine because we need to be innovative as the world moves ahead. So when all this is happening, you realize there's an economic gap that comes about due to the in the digital gender world. If we don't have the inclusion that we are looking for, you get a widening economic inequality. And a lot of women are business owners. So how does this tie in? Kani, can you come in? When we are talking about the digital age, we don't have enough women in there. So it's results in an equal widening of gap in the economic sense. And yet we have a lot of women who are owning even small scale business owners. A lot of them are women. So how does these two tie in, Kani? Okay.
Okay, thank you. I was waiting for you to unmute me. That's a very good point, because when it comes to the business ownership side of it, when it comes to digital finance, it points to a larger problem that women entrepreneurs in general face. It is seen in studies that women-owned businesses make significantly less than male-owned businesses. They have smaller turnovers and they make much less profit. On the flip side, the interesting contrast is that for bigger businesses, having more women on the boards, at least 25% or more, shows that companies perform better. So it's not a case of the leadership. What it's pointing to is that funding. There's a huge bias in women getting funding because still perhaps the funders are predominantly male, and the funding institution. And this is where the equity part needs to come into the discussion again as well, because as far as equality is concerned, there's no law that says don't give funding to a woman. But as a woman, you could find yourself going from bank to bank and not being able to bank your proposal, basically. And also there are, of course, studies that perhaps women may be less risk inclined than men. So we're basically generally more risk averse. And again, this points to social conditioning and stereotyping. So these are not issues that you just look at and there's a like one size fit all solution to the problem, because the problem stems from many different areas. And it's something that really needs to be considered. Another thing that happens is that women, to tie it into what Celestina was talking about with innovation, there's the potential. We have a lot of potential to be innovators as well. But if you look at the number of apps and technological innovations coming out there, how many are owned and created by women? Not many. And so women are so women are not involved in the creation of these apps that we use. And that also leads to a lack of participation when it comes to digital. Like, for example, if I just take it back to the grassroots, I like to do that, I guess, because I work in government. If I take it back to the grassroots, the majority of women in the rural areas in the Gambia don't have bank accounts. So they don't even have traditional bank accounts. You don't expect them to start using apps. So these are where the problems are. Because of structural inequalities, not legal inequalities, because of structural and cultural barriers to equality, less women are making use of the digital finance space, less women are creating and coding. And again, even whereas a few women do break that barrier, they are not accessing finance. So you'll find that women entrepreneurs actually bear the brunt of that lack of equity when it comes to accessing financing for their businesses. And to change all of these, it needs government intervention, it needs organizational, it needs even personal intervention. It's a re-engineering of ourselves and society in how we approach businesses and how we think about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is really important. And for us in corporate, you would wonder what the corporate world is doing to help this narration. Sam, you are in HR as an HR manager. What are some of the things that companies and corporate bodies can do to drive the gender equality and equity? Okay.
Thank you. So for me, this is what I believe that corporate bodies need to do. I mean, and listening to Tani and listening to Celestina, we see a lot of the biases that exist in Africa, and Ghana is no exception. I think that one, stereotyping we should move to a place where we have a lot of stereotyping happening to a level where stereotyping will be a thing of the past. Equal access, and it's nice to see where the ladies on this platform are sitting and working from. I see Celestina, and she's all offshore, and Tani as well, and for every other person. I think that the equal access must begin. I know of some companies that practice the affirmative action and give some opportunities to females to join companies. There are some times where job descriptions or job adverts are done, and there's a caveat. This is an exclusive. We want ladies are encouraged to apply, or females are encouraged to apply. Sometimes I think that the positive discrimination is needed, especially where we live in a very male-dominated continent. So I believe that these are some of the ways that corporates would put in. So first, we need access. So access comes with the opportunities, and then obviously learning opportunities, the opportunities for advancement. We should not take some of these things for granted. Education and training, access to technology, then incentivizing diversity, gender diversity, making it, should I say, look good for corporates to actually engage, especially ladies or the females in their organizations. And I think that a lot of the policy, it starts also from policy. As an HR person, I speak from the point of view that HR has no power than what is given to it by policy. So if we want to even do the affirmative action, we must begin as a policy of the corporate organization. What does the corporate organization promote? What do we see as helpful? I have worked, and I work in a sector where on a monthly basis, we actually calculate level of females who are going higher, who are climbing up the ladder. We want to make a conscious effort with policy to make sure that we do not only see male going up the ladder. We don't only want to see male in the management setup, but we want to see females as well there. And not just because we are favoring them, but we have given them the opportunity as we give every other person else. And then once you give the opportunities, the females will thrive, females will wow everyone, females will bring innovation. Yes, females are risk averse, as I said, but risk averse sometimes brings us the good things that the companies do not plunge into deep waters that they didn't plan for. They save companies from going extinct. Thank you very much.
One thing that you mentioned, which resonates with me, is policies that companies should put in place to make sure they increase, or they are intentional about the number of women that they increase in hiring, which for me is very important. And there are some companies that would say, okay, this is not compulsory, it's not in the law, it's not in the policies, so what can we do, you know? So I believe the government also has a key role to play. So Kani, you are in the government sector, and you give advice to the government on policies and other things. So as Sam said, on the corporate level, when it comes to the government side, what are some of the policies or rules that can be put in place that can help drive this gender equality or equity we're talking about, to make sure we intentionally increase the number of women in our companies? Is that something that you think is possible and should be done? Kani? Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, it's working now.
It's working now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, certainly. It always starts from an enabling policy and environment. Government always has to take the lead in setting the right policies that ensure that it molds society, basically. And the first thing the government needs to do, I know basically every government has a gender policy, but there needs to be a pathway towards digital, bridging the digital gap. It has to be explicit in gender policies that these are the specific steps that are going to be taken, because traditionally gender policies deal with basically access to education, access land rights, a ban on female circumcision, like harmful and socially violent practices against women. But I think policies now need to have a specific technology and digital access focus as well, or chapter. So that would help. The other thing is governments need to now ensure, because governments also, to a large extent, they devise and set the curricula for the majority of the population, because most schools are public schools everywhere you go, and that's what most people have access to. So governments need to revise curriculum to ensure that introductions are made early for digital education and for innovation, to encourage innovation in kids. Because, for example, if I use me as an example, the first time, even though perhaps it was still new, but the first time I started learning about a computer was towards the last 2 years of school for me. So it would have made a massive difference if, like, from primary one or from reception one, kids are introduced to, like coding games, to tablets, and to innovative ways of teaching them. And then the other thing that, of course, goes along with modifying the curriculum to ensure that there's a primary focus as well on digital education, is to ensure that actually there is access to the tools that are needed, because you can't teach people about a computer on paper. They actually have to access it, and we see that a lot in Africa. I remember there was a time my son was writing down about Microsoft Word, and I said, and PowerPoint. Yeah, and I said it would have been so much easier if they actually just gave you the tablet or the laptop and asked you to do it. And I said, no, they're going to do that after. But that actually kills interest. It's the wrong way to go about it. So these are some of the policy interventions that government can do. First of all, ensure that it is specifically mentioned in the holistic policy, gender policy documents that we have. Secondly, ensure that it is introduced early in school. Early education has a digital footprint as well. And thirdly, ensure that these gadgets are available, especially to the disadvantaged areas. And of course, the social conditioning and advocacy, awareness continues, because then what happens is, I don't know if it's the case elsewhere, but for a lot of people, ICT is not even their first choice. They go for it after they are not accepted into other STEM fields. And then also we don't teach or inculcate the innovative part of it, the coding part of it, the creation part of it. It's more we're taught how to use these tools and not how to create them. And these are all various means and ways in which government can step in and ensure that at least, the tone is set the right way. And
in doing all this, who do you think are our allies? Because I go for a number of women programs, and we're trying to promote gender equality and everything regarding increasing our presence in the boardrooms and all that. And this is one topic I don't get to hear a lot, because there are other people who are the gatekeepers, because they are maybe especially in our industry, which is very male dominated. You have a lot of males who are the gatekeepers. So who do we want to use as our allies? Who are our allies? What are their roles? Because we can't just have this conversation within ourselves and leave it at that. We need to bring in the people who are the gatekeepers and who are our allies. So
very, very, very important point. It reminds me of so many times I've said we're having like conferences and even professional gatherings, they set aside a specific day, usually the last day, for women issues. And everyone has gone home by then. And I'm like, who are we talking to? We're talking to ourselves. We already know our problems. We believe we know the solution. But like you said, the gatekeepers are not here. So obviously allies are very, very important. You're not doing it alone. At the end of the day, at least, to a large extent now, the conversation about gender equity and equality is no longer about replacing men. Because before, that was one of the key barriers. People felt that, okay, first you either don't need the men or the men feel threatened that they're being replaced. But that is absolutely impossible and unnatural. We were created to be complementary. It takes two to tango. So obviously, I really like the direction that Mr. Opong, Dr. Opong has set here by inviting, himself and Sam to be active in the program as well. These are very, very important. And so the allies are naturally our men. They are our fathers, our colleagues, our male colleagues, our brothers, our sons. They are all needed, because when you're doing social reconditioning, you don't just focus on one side of the problem. You have to solve it holistically. And allies are definitely truly important. It is as important to have men on board in the conversation as the women. Having only one part of it doesn't make any difference. At the other extreme, you have, I've seen this very funny story about a Middle Eastern country where there was a UN gender conference, an all male delegation went. There was no female in the delegation. So they were, the entire gender ministry was all male. And so that's an extreme part. Again, we're also perpetuating somehow the extreme part of having only females in the conversation, because then we're an echo chamber. We're talking to each other about things that we already know. That doesn't change unconscious bias, for sure.
Yeah. This is really important. This is very key, so that we don't end up making the same mistakes that have been done with the other gender.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In this, Celestina, what role does SPE have or play in all this?
Yes, thanks, Sheena. So that's where SPE comes in. SPE provides a platform for all these opportunities we are talking about. When Samuel was talking, he was talking about training and education. SPE has Energy for Me, which usually targets the high schools and then the children. But these people can all benefit from training, but then we can also we also organize training at the professional level, where we can have webinars on digitalization to bring up to bridge that gap of education that make people or women fall short in some of these areas. We are Women in Energy Committee, the diversity and inclusion, can take it upon themselves to provide these mentoring opportunities for women in the industry, just to bring them up. Our various conferences highlight some of these things that can help. Conscientizing the populace on various biases that narrow down or disadvantage ladies when being employed. I like the suggestion that was made that some of these vacancies, when they come, they actually input the caveats that women are encouraged to apply. We also have various publications for those who just want to do some reading and bring themselves up to speed on some of these new technological advancements. One more thing that the SPE does is to provide scholarships. We have scholarships that are available for women in the industry. There's this Archie Memorial Scholarship for female students who are studying petroleum engineering. That's just a way of encouraging the ladies to go into some of these areas. And I think it goes a long way to help. But at this stage, I think I may have to sign off because my time has exceeded the limits. So it's been exciting joining you guys all on this.
Thank you so much, Sel. Thank you. We thank you that you even make our time even offshore to join this conversation, and we truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. So we are almost done anyway. So would have Sam come in and tell us how we can groom the next generation to get it better, to not miss out on the economic empowerment through digitalization, and to also encourage more more women into the tech space.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think that before I answer that question, I wanted to also contribute a little to how SP helps in this
Please go
matter.
ahead.
I know SP also supports some research and development, and I believe that it's very important because it encourages everyone with
Hi, Sam. Hello. Okay, it seems Sam is frozen. Kenny, is this something? Okay, he's back on.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Did you miss out on anything?
Yes. Yes, you go frozen at a point.
Oh, sorry. So I was talking about the opportunities given by SP for research and development, and then for presentation of papers and to take part in competitions organized by SP. So SP provides a bigger forum for everyone to be part of growing and increasing equality on all fronts, especially in the oil and gas sector. And then also so that's what I said earlier on. And to answer your question directly, we need, as a matter of urgency, to prepare the upcoming generation so that we do not miss out, especially in Africa, on the economic empowerment bit. We do not miss out on the digitization requirements. We need to have a multi-pronged approach, I believe, in making this work. So first, I would say, I mean, we've mentioned already education, but digital literacy education, not just education, but in the next generation, we are talking about digital literacy. And then again, Kanye talked about the technology, access to the technology itself. So in the next generation do not have to be deficient because they cannot access technology or various technological innovations that come in. And then in preparing the next generation, we should also think about partnerships with industry. So here in Ghana, and I'm sure in most parts of Africa, sometimes education is going on and industry is going on. I mean, from where I sit as an HR person, you see people come out from school who have studied XYZ and cannot practice XYZ in the workspace. So you literally have to reteach them or re-educate them to become functional. I think that we should be seeing a lot of partnerships with industry so that education becomes functional. Once you are out of school, you can actually fit into the world of work. And then the digital skills training and apprenticeships. So digital skills training and apprenticeship should be increased as well, should be encouraged for in our various governments and by our various governments as a matter of policy. And then we must have policy interventions that actually are intentional about raising digital awareness, that are intentional about the next generation, that are forward-looking and not necessarily what we are doing right now. So these are the ways overall that I believe that we can prepare the next generation.
The next generation. Thank you. Celestina, before you run off and leave us, can you please give us your final words?
I think I'm still muted. Am I
No, you're
still
fine.
muted?
No.
All right, yeah. So for me, I think in bridging this equality and the equity gap, it also requires the various genders to put themselves in a position where they can be supported, because sometimes we may be backing down the wrong tree. We are advocating so much for people to take up positions, but probably the time comes and they might not be ready. So my message right now is that for women in STEM who want to really progress, they should be more accepting of the various changes in the industry now. You should equip themselves with the various digital tools that have come up to enable them to compete in this fast-paced world. And also, I'd like to advocate for resiliency. Women need to be more resilient in the various roles that they find themselves in, because just as Kani was mentioning, you can't have a conference where only men are showing up. Where were the women? Were they giving excuses that they have to stay home and take care of the kids? Or what is it? What really caused them to stay behind, you see? So we need to position ourselves and be sensitive to the times and be prepared when some of these opportunities are put before us, so that we don't have all these events talking about how we can help women. Meanwhile, when the time comes, there's no one there. That's my message, Sheena.
Thank you very much. And yes, you hit the nail right on the head about being ready and being prepared, because a lot of times we talk a lot, give us we want to do it, women can do it, and then you give the opportunities and everybody starts taking a step back. So yes, thank you so much, Sel. Kani, please, any last words from you before we go?
Mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, my video, I think my screen.
Yes, you're fine now.
Okay, it's fine. So I'd just like to say that the gender inequality still persists. You know, women make up half of the population, and we generate only about a third of the global GDP, about 35%. And that shows that the world, like you even said in your preamble, $1 trillion lost because the digital gap is still there. The world is missing out, including men. So it is in the interest of both men and women to ensure that women reach their full potential. This is a critical economic challenge. It is not just a moral and social issue now. There's still less women in the workplace. Women are still paid less than men. They still have less access to funding. And even worldwide, there's only 22 women in leadership positions for every 100 men. So we're still leaving behind half of the population. And that just shows that humanity itself could have accelerated its own innovation and its own technological and modern change much faster than it is now if women were enabled to reach their full potential. So accelerating the gender balance and gender equity is a priority for all of us. It is the business of all of us. It is not just government's business or organizational business. It's the business for myself, for yourself, for our brothers, our husbands, our male colleagues, our daughters, and our sons. Because an equal world is a fair world and everyone benefits from it. Basically, that's what I have to say. It is everyone's business.
You're all right. This is all of us, our business. Please, do we have any questions? Because I asked in the chat box for anyone to put their questions in there, but I didn't see any questions in there. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it or raise your hands, and then we'll unmute you to ask directly. So whilst we wait, if someone has a question, Sam, you can give us your final words.
Okay, thank you. I want to give a definition for luck. I think that women have to be lucky. And I define luck as when opportunity meets preparedness. And both Kani and Celestina have talked about being prepared for the opportunity. So when the opportunity comes, we are actually prepared to offer to our female colleagues because they are up to the task. And I think that one of the things that we should not stop doing is talking about the issues. So once we continue talking about the issues, and once we continue making the giving access to opportunities for our female colleagues, I think that we open up the opportunities. I think that the last thing I want to talk about is, and especially to all women on the platform, especially while we celebrate International Women's Day, is that we should know where we are going. We should know where we are going. And if we know where we are going, it will not take any road. We will take the right roads that will lead us to the right destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Kani. Thank you, Sel. Today's discussion has been very good, and we've all discussed how important gender equality and equity is in economic development and even for our individual growth. Once we are able to help or improve our growth individually, we all come together in improving the growth of the economy. And also how important it is for companies and corporate bodies to be intentional about increasing the gender balance in the various roles that they advertise. Kani also spoke about policies that governments can put in place to increase the number of women we find in the various governmental positions. She also mentioned how we cannot have this conversation just among ourselves, because of course we need to have allies. We have the men who are mostly the gatekeepers, who are mostly the ones in the roles that when I started working in the industry, aside two ladies, all my other managers, my hiring managers in the companies I worked for were all men who gave me the opportunities. So it is important to know that we cannot have this conversation among ourselves. And a lot of other people would tell you how it's not just the women, but the men who have also been instrumental in pushing them in achieving their career success. So this is very important that we include the men in the conversation in driving the gender equality and gender equity. And also how important, Sam mentioned how it's important it is in preparing the next generation. And it's also very important to partner the schools, academia, partner the industry, so that there's not that gap is not there. Like you get people come out of school and what they learn and what is the practical aspect of things is totally different. We need to have that partnership between academia and the industry. And the Celestina crowned it with how, as women, we need to be resilient and also to be quick to adapt to changes and be prepared when the opportunity comes. Let's not be scared to take up opportunities. There are lots of other women who may have done the things that we want to do. So reach out, talk to them, get prepared so that whenever the opportunity comes, you'll not be found wanting. I want to wish every one of us on this call, the women, take the opportunity to wish you all again happy International Women's Day. Let's keep breaking the barriers. Let's keep talking. Let's keep encouraging each other. Let's keep talking to the next generation after us in how we can all come together to achieve gender equality and equity. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Riverson. Doc, are you on?
Okay, yes, yeah, I'm here. Thank you so much. Chief Engineer Shina also for such a wonderful moderation and conclusion. You just took the words out of my mouth and you concluded appropriately. So just as we started, we are coming to an end today. Today's event on the DNI. First of all, I want to thank all the panelists, those who were caught unaware, those who got aware, those who came online from offshore. I mean, I call it. I mean, they came from nowhere, but they still made time. Thank you so much, and thank you, Kenny, all the way from Gambia. That's how technology is advanced. Come and share your experience with, I mean, by the topic, driving gender equality and equity through technology and innovation. Obviously, your experience beats my mind personally, and I'm happy you had the time to come and share your experience with us. And I believe ladies here, I mean, not even ladies, I mean, myself and other men who joined also have learned something from this call. If not about ourselves, we could also do more for the ladies we know. I mean, talking from Ghana Gas perspective, today we do have, I think, more women than men in the company in total. I mean, when you go to the gas plant, you see more ladies in the power plant than overall. Ladies taking up director positions as Kani is, and you have ladies offshore like Celestina, and this also made possible because we have HRs like Sam who make things work. I can't thank you enough, but I know God will bless you for making time to come and speak with us, sharing this time with us. We don't take it for granted. Thank you for the panelists also who joined. I believe you learned a lot, and I'm not the only one who learned something. We also did. And stay tuned for our upcoming events under DNI and even SP Ghana session in whole. So on behalf of SP board and SP session officers, we want to wish all the ladies happy International Women's Day. And we hope that this day will bring you memories that you never forget in your entire life. Keep on breaking the barriers. Thank you so much, and bye-bye. Shina, do you want us to take a selfie with everybody's
Yes,
face or what?
you can all turn on your camera for a very short time so that we can take a group photo. I think I need to change the view to gallery. Yes.
Okay. So
can we all
everybody
please turn on
not,
our videos?
We'll do it as you have it now.
Let's see your lovely faces.
Yeah, shy, I don't mind them. Right.
Ruba,
So we'll go with this one.
you are even in purple. We should
It's
see
okay.
you in the colors.
I've taken it, so I'll share, don't worry. What we have is even enough. Don't mind them.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you, Celestina. Thank you, Kani. Kani will be storming Gambia one of these days.
Sure. We need to think about opening a new session in Gambia. We have a session chair already.
Well, thank you. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Thank you so much.